Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Business Spotlight Series. My name's Mark McNulty, president of Action Coach Bluegrass. And today I have Chris Gilbert, president and founder of Security Pros, as my guest. Today we're going to be talking with Chris about his business, his journey to business ownership, and the challenges, some best practices, and just share a peek into what it's really like to build and operate a business. So if this is your first time on the channel, go ahead and like and subscribe so you get notified every time we drop a new interview. So Chris, welcome and thank you for being here today.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, great. So tell us a little bit about your background and how did you start Security Pros? Where'd you come from? How'd you get there?
Well, that can be a really long story or a short one, but I can definitely tell you that I'm Southern Indiana born. I grew up on a farm, and all we knew was to work hard and do that sort of thing. So I got into corporate life in this industry back in the late 90s and kind of worked my way up through an organization. And after a period of time there, after about 10 years, realized I wanted to do this for myself and I got into it and, kind of applied that same type of grind that I did at the corporate life and got this thing off the ground. So that's a very short example of kind of how this thing got up and running or where my background is.
So what was the trigger that said, I can do this either myself or I can do this better? Usually it's, I can do this better.
Yeah, it usually is. I would say, over the years working in the industry for as long as I did, I got a chance to make some good contacts throughout the country, right? And so once I made the decision to leave the corporate life and move into the private world, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do next. I just knew I wanted to come back to Louisville, Kentucky, and I want to be back in this area. And I want to be closer to my family, my kids, and watch them grow up. That was my mission. It didn't matter if I delivered pizza or if I was going to, serve coffee or whatever it was going to be. I was going to be home and watch those kids grow up. I was fortunate to have 3 daughters over the course of this whole thing, and it's been
Oh,
wonderful to watch them grow up. So that was my motivation. And then ultimately, what started happening was these contacts that I'd made around the country. I ended up with a manufacturer's rep in our industry. We have manufacturers of products, and they take those to market through integrators like us. They called and said, "Hey, we want somebody in the Midwest about your height, about your eye color, about your experience." I'm like, "Okay, I get it." They were definitely chasing me. And so I said, yes. That put me in a position to go out to the entire Midwest and take a look at other integrators like me. I didn't realize what I was doing at the time. I just thought I was going to do a good job for this other company. And I went all over Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, all the way to West Virginia. And I went in all these businesses and all these integration companies and all of these corporate security industry folks. I saw all their offices, how they operated. I was trying to teach them how to sell this new product. And after about 6 months of that, I realized just how disparate our industry was. It's all over the map as to how people take these products to market and how they run their businesses and did their thing. And one day I was in Nashville, Tennessee, and I walked in, I spoke to an owner and I said, "Hey, I'd like to show your team what this does." And he said, "Yeah, great. Let's get you started with the new person." And so I went in there and they didn't know how to go to market. They were brand new. And I literally taught them step 1 through 20 of how to go to market and take this product out there. And the owner walks by and he goes, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Well, your rep doesn't know how to even go to market. And so there's no sense in me teaching them a product if they can't even go see customers." And
mhm.
so I did everything. And he goes, "Stop. Like, I need to bring my whole company in and hear what you're saying." And so he brought his whole company in. I was really excited. And I got in my car on my way home, back to Bowling Green. I'm about halfway home. And I'm sitting there going, wow, I just fixed his entire company on how to go to market and created a marketing strategy and created a go to market. And I said, I need to do this for myself. And literally, I didn't even have to go to sleep and think on it. I called my boss that day and I was like, "Hey, listen, you either need to fire me or you need to let me quit and I'll be your best dealer." And he laughed. And this year we got dealer of the year with that company. So it all came to fruition, but that's that trigger. I can do it better. I think I can control, the narrative a little bit. And I felt like I could do a better job and kind of prove the point. It's been a very exciting ride.
Oh, that's awesome. And congratulations for Dealer of the Year. That's
Thank you.
great.
Thank you.
That's great. So who are your ideal clients or target markets? You've probably got multiple.
There are, and for the security industry, like who doesn't need security, right? And so we do a lot of electronic security. We do a lot of access control where we're controlling the doors. We do a lot of surveillance where we're watching the space. That industry is changing very, very quickly. And so any place with a door on it is what we've always said is our market space. But there are key vertical markets within the commercial space that we spend our time on. So when you start thinking about churches, you got a lot of people coming and going, you got a lot of doors, a lot of entry exit points. You've got a lot of people management, you got a lot of daycare type applications in churches. We do a lot of K through 12 education. We do a lot of municipality type work. We were talking city park or public space. So to talk about that briefly, so trucking and transfer, that sort of thing, all of these markets have lots of reasons to put surveillance and access control in place. Number one, access control controls the movement of people in and around a facility. And number two, surveillance has always been known as kind of overwatching. But in today's environment, AI is taking a whole new look at surveillance. So now, if you and I are sitting at a table having a conversation, AI can say, hey, these guys are having a conversation, everything's good. If I leave my laptop and get up and walk away, and somebody in a white shirt, not a red or a white, takes my laptop and walks away, now they know that that person probably stole that laptop. And then I can follow that person throughout the entire infrastructure of the surveillance system to know where they went, what they did next, and what they did previous. By the same token, if I'm in a school and somebody throws a punch, I know that that's a punch being thrown and who did it and where'd they go afterwards. So AI is starting to create alerts and drive activities that the human always had to go back and look at in the past. Now it's becoming a real time thing. And essentially AI is becoming that human interaction with the surveillance system. And it's like a brand new industry all over again. So when you ask about markets, there's lots and lots of applications that drive us into key vertical markets. Typically, there's some high value reasons that we're in there on return on investment. Anymore, it's not necessarily theft. It's operational issues that the businesses are facing. So that's where we spend most of our time.
Okay. So what makes you the security company of choice? What makes you special to a client?
Really what we think, we're always trying to be on that front edge of the technology, right? With the launch of AI, I mean, we're diving into that deeply. We're already having conversations. Every March we go to a national show, and that national show brings us, new technology, new services that are there. And so one of the things that we like to, we like to be an innovator. We like to be unique in how we deploy the solutions. I believe that most companies are out there communicating with customers and they're trying to deploy a surveillance system or an access control system that is going to solve the immediate need. Typically, our phone call comes right after something bad has happened, right? So something bad happens. Oh my gosh, we got to do something about it. That problem can be solved with a system.
Mm-hmm.
Where we come into play is listening to what the customer's problem is at the moment, but then really looking into the business operation and saying, okay, well, do you have forklifts? And we're doing risk assessments and we're diving deep into the operation of the business and we're integrating HR software with their access control. So if they fire Susie, now Susie can't get in the building anymore and a human doesn't have to remember to take them out. Okay. So we bring all that integration knowledge and all of this innovative technology. We try to bring all that in and apply it to a real business operation and solve more than the typical security concern, somebody stealing something or somebody throwing something in the dumpster or, things like that. We're looking for slip and falls. We're looking for, drugs in the workplace or weapons in the workplace or any of those types of things. We spend a lot of time learning about the company before we just deploy a system. We want to make sure that we're really solving a bottom line issue.
Okay. Awesome. So a very holistic approach.
Sure.
That's not just you need cameras and a lock on the door.
Exactly. Everybody needs that anyway, but we try to take it to a whole new level, right?
Okay. So tell me a little bit about your team. You've built a team. We talked a little bit before we started here about, you're proud of the team that you've put together and you've been fortunate. So tell me a little bit about your team and kind of the leadership team you've put together.
Sure. So over the course of time, I believe in a challenger mentality. So if you've read the Challenger Sale, my team tells me that is literally my brain on paper. So I think that's definitely one of the best books out there to read. What I've learned over the course of time is I've brought some good people in. We hired for character early on. And literally it started with one person and that was me. Like I sold the systems, I installed them, And it led to where we are today, nearly 30 employees, 2 different branches, and we work globally. So it's pretty exciting to see that shift. What I realized later on, after a couple failures, we've had plenty of that, um, giving people enough room to fail has allowed us to build some strong people. Okay. So in the very early stages, it was me. I would sell a job, then I had to put it into our billing system. I had to bill the customer. I had to do all the install, a lot of heavy lifting. Once we started meeting some people and trying to hire on folks, I made all the mistakes of corporate America and I tried to make them fit into a box and do all these things. In reality, if I hired a person that was willing to work with good character and had the same type of values as me, we could cover a heck of a lot of ground with just a couple of us. And then by letting that person have some time to fail, it got stronger and better. So over the years, there's been lots of that come into my world. Old contacts that just want to come work for us. Most people that come work for us have found us online, saw our culture, understood what we're trying to do, and they come to us. So we posted out, we got some positions available, but realistically, a lot of people have come to us through internal referrals from our existing employees over the years now that we have more of them on staff. So we have a leadership team at the top that essentially goes out and has been with me for years and years, and they know what to do. And as they're bringing people on, we have a core team that supports our branches and our national and global work. All those folks have had enough room to where they run that department and they have enough room to kind of fail and make mistakes and try some things. And that's built a culture of innovation, right? That's what we really feel like is really holding that team together. So we spend a lot of time on personality assessments and how that fits in the role, communicating to that employee and working with them to apply their personality into the business and into that particular role. We spend a lot of time on that. And we've had a lot of people move around. They realize they don't fit in that particular bucket anymore. Maybe they need to shift a little bit and get them into the right role. Doesn't mean they don't belong with us, but it means that they move into the role that fits their personality the best. And that's been very powerful for us to be able to shift not only our technology, but how we bring people on and how we coach them up over the course of time.
Okay.
Hopefully that.
So so great. So your role as president, what do you do?
Yep. So for years and years, I tried to buck the system. Everybody said, hey, it takes 3 years. 3 years, you're going to make a decision whether you're going to have a business or not, and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, there's no way I'm going to blow that out of the water. And well, it takes 3 years. I don't care what anybody says. And so I tried to beat the system. I tried to go faster than everybody said it would go. I started the business during a recession. It was absolutely the hardest thing I could do. Everybody said, don't do it. And I did it. And somehow we made it through. But in today's environment, everybody's wanting to work on their business, not in their business. And that's a really hard thing to understand sometimes. It's really hard for folks to understand what that transition looks like, because most business owners start a business and then they create themselves a job, and now they're doing their job and they go there every single day. And then they get to the end of that. It's okay, I want to sell and retire. And maybe there's no value there. Right. So I know I'm kind of doing a coaching job at the moment, but realistically, where I'm at today is I'm working on the business, not in it. So I'm in a position of being able to innovate the products and services that we sell. And I spend a lot of time within the industry. And so I get to go to a lot of our national shows. I'm brought in by the manufacturers to do like panels and things like that at our big national shows. I do a lot of interviews. I'm actually starting to do a little bit of consulting. And we've opened up a franchising arm to look for franchises or acquisitions, because there's a lot of business owners out there like me that are still selling and installing just like they did when they first started their business. And they're trying to figure out what to do next. My team literally has the ball. So my team is running the business. They're doing all the things. I coach them. I spend time with them working on different initiatives throughout their business operation. I'm getting ready to jump on a call here in a second, and we're going to lay out a new role that we're going to implement to help our customers better. And so we're going to spend some time kind of implementing what that looks like. So I would tell you that right now, I really am a president. I really am going in and looking at what each individual role is doing and how it's affecting it. And I'm spending more time working on it, but not necessarily in it. I'm managing general managers and a core staff of leaders, but that's really about it. I'm not in the necessary weeds every single day like I was. So that's a hard transition. It's a really tough transition, but it's one that you got to keep pushing for and keep looking at. Otherwise, you'll never get there.
Right. So over the years, and you've mentioned failure, you've mentioned challenges. So What's a memorable roadblock or challenge that you had to overcome on the journey? What really sticks out?
There's a big one, and it's 100% my mistake. We built the business up. So I founded the company in October of 2009. By the time we got to 2015, things were moving along pretty good. I was still the only salesperson, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm the only salesperson, but I was managing 600 customers and I was doing very, very well. And I had a really big month. I sold almost a whole previous year in 1 month.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
like, okay. And I literally almost had a nervous breakdown. I was like, oh my gosh, I am exhausted. Like I am just done. And so I made the move to hire a general manager and to put some people in place. And we just kind of did it all at once. Let's add some salespeople. We had the money, we were able to grow, and we added a bunch of people and we got everybody moving. I made the mistake of jumping out too soon, right? So I get in there, I'm like, okay, you got the ball, I'm out. And they're like, okay. And they just started doing whatever they wanted to. And I literally was so far removed from the business in that transition that I broke it. And
Mhm.
so we went from 5 employees to 18. And then after about 6 months to a year, I started seeing the writing on the wall. And I'm like, okay, what is going on here? And things were unraveling left and right. And literally, we went from 18 back to 4.
Mhm.
And so that moment was very pointed for me. And so what ended up happening in that situation was some of the employees, they started getting rid of folks and because they were trying to save money, they were making the decisions they thought they needed to make, but we weren't going to grow because there was no vision. The vision was on a softball field somewhere with their daughter, right? And so I was not part of where we were going, and it caused a serious problem. And so the thing was, 12 months later, I'd put all the people back in place, and we had sold almost twice the business that we were selling the year before just because I reapplied myself to the business. And I vowed at that point from 16, 17 on, we would never do that again. And so over the past 5 years, I've been making that same transition again. We recently added the general managers in Southern Indiana and Central, but I'm still 3 years from being able to really get loose of that. I know it's going to take a little while for them to kind of settle into position. And so learning how to transition the leadership role was the number one thing that I had broken, and it was 100% my fault.
Okay.
So, and that almost brought us down. Like we literally almost closed the doors because of that. So that is a major situation, but it's one that you've got to go through, or you're never going to get to the sunny side of being a president and running a business.
Right. Growth is great, but growth requires change, and often in ways we really never anticipated because our
Yep.
corporate career didn't teach us that.
Well,
Right.
and you got to have vision. And if you think about it, a lot of folks on staff, they get a job, they want to do the job, they're trying to do all the things based on corporate America and all the things, and they're trying to follow the rules and all that. But in reality, you've got to have some vision in there, right? So who's driving the vision? Who's saying where we're going? Now your visionary probably can't execute it. I'm not that good at execution, I'll tell you that. I'm really good at the idea and I'm really good at some implementation and showing people like we got to do this, but they've got to take the ball and believe in that vision and go forward. That's what I was doing before, and I was doing it all by myself, and it was working really well. Well, then you can only grow so much. Then the second that I removed the vision, and then people didn't have enough rope to go make some mistakes and go do some things, we had major breakdown, and that's what caused our almost caused our demise.
Well, this has been really helpful and really interesting. I love the story and the honesty. Most people don't realize just the life of the entrepreneur, business owner starts as this self-employed. I bought myself a job,
Yep,
and it takes learning all these new skills to really get to the point where you are now. So I really applaud you for that success.
appreciate
So,
it.
got a few quick questions here to wrap us up, kind of share some thoughts and ideas for our listeners. What's your key to success?
Wow, that's a good question. The key to success is staying consistent, I think. Everybody can start something. You lose track of that. You lose sight of your vision. And when you do that and you lose your consistency of doing the basics that you got to do every day, when you equate it back to sales, if you don't see 20 people a day, you're not going to be successful. You can't figure out why you're not successful. You didn't see the 20 people every day like you said you were going to be. So I have to say that, I'm a sales background. So for me, it's being consistent and doing the things that you know are going to have a result. Keep doing that. Don't stop, no matter what anybody tells you.
Okay. So what's one piece of advice you would have for other business owners?
I would say be cautious of who you listen to that's telling you that you can't do it, right? I know when I started this, there's probably 4 people that said go for it, and those were not people in my family. They were not friends of mine. They were not people working in corporate jobs. They were people that were other business owners that had made the leap and had gotten through it and had seen the other side. And they said, you know what, if you're willing to put in the effort and the time and drive, go do it. So everybody's going to tell you what you can't do, and that's because they can't do it. And in reality, I tell my girls this all the time, if you're going to be the 1%, you better do what nobody else is doing. And everybody else thinks the right answer is to get a job and stick it out and do your thing. And it is a comfortable thing to do. But if you feel it in your heart and you want to go for it, chase it. Be very limited on who you listen to. Turn off social media, turn off your TV, and just go do it.
Awesome. I like that. So what's a book that you're reading or listening to? We listen to books now just as much as we read them, that you're reading either currently or recently that you would recommend to other business owners or budding entrepreneurs?
Sure. I'm going to go to a book that I've read quite a few here in the last several months, and I'm getting ready to start a new one called Traction. I'm getting ready to start that. I don't know anything about it just yet, but I'm getting ready to start that. A good friend of mine who runs a lot of franchise businesses, they use that in their business. To be honest, the one that resonates with me the most, and I've read 3 times in the last 2 months, is the new Arnold Schwarzenegger book about being useful.
Okay.
And I listened to it on Spotify, and it's just a down to earth basics. Just be useful in your market. I was fascinated by the book, and the fact that I was listening to it, he narrates it himself, and it makes you have to pay attention because of his accent. But honestly, whenever I have a book that I just can't get it, I come back to his and I read it again and again. And it's sort of a core human being, let's go do something important today type of book. And it's meant a lot to me, and it's helped me kind of take it to the next level.
Okay, awesome. So second to last question here. If you could choose one area of your business to improve tomorrow, what would it be?
Well, that's why I'm reading the book called Traction. It's getting true traction and taking an idea and making sure that it's actually going to impact the customer, right? So I want to make sure that we're gaining traction in order to make change actually happen. We can talk about it all day, we can say it's amazing, but if I can't get it out of my head and into my team and into the client, then we're not doing anything. There's literally nothing but an idea at that point. So for me, it's ensuring that we're getting traction at all levels as we implement change.
Okay, awesome. So before I get to that last question, if people are interested in finding out more about, meeting with you, what's the best way to do that? Website, social media? What's the best way?
Really both. Obviously, we're on all the social channels. So LinkedIn is a big place to meet our team and see a lot about us. Our website is securitypros-usa.com. You can read all about our story. You can see our team there. You can learn a little bit about the technologies and different markets that we work in there. But we're on all the socials, Facebook and Instagram, all that. So definitely check us out there.
Okay, awesome. All right. So my last question for you today, Chris, what inspires you the most right now?
I would tell you that watching our team grow and what they're doing in their personal lives inspires me to do more. We've had more people buy houses. We've had more people, start families. We've had more people move into new places and invest more money. We just launched profit sharing programs and other things. And watching my team grow and expand and take on new ideas and do things they never thought they could do, that inspires me the most to keep doing what I'm doing. It means that if I stop innovating, it may put them in a position where they won't do that. And that drives me to innovate more. And right now, my team is what inspires me the most.
Awesome. I love that answer. We can't get where we want to go without a great team and great people. So,
Exactly
Chris,
right.
thank you so much for your time today. You've shared a lot of great tips. I love the story of how you built it and the honesty and vulnerability of just admitting that, hey, it takes a lot of failures to get where we're going, and you just can't be afraid of that.
That's exactly right.
So thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. To our listeners, this has been Chris Gilbert, the president and founder of Security Pros, and he's shared a lot. So make sure you subscribe and like so that you can see future recordings. for the Business Spotlight Series, I'm Coach Mark McNulty with Action Coach Bluegrass. And thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next interview.
That's good. Thank you.